welcome everybody, all the participants. See a lot of folks here online that are, some familiar names as well as some new ones and different sites that we've dealt with in the past. So definitely welcome today to the Groome Industrial Service Group's HRSG tube cleaning seminar with a focus on KinetiClean technology. This is the first part of a four-part series that we're doing for plant maintenance. It involves the KinetiClean that we're doing today, as well as system analysis. Part 2, Part 3 will be CO and SCR catalyst maintenance, as well as surface coatings as our fourth part. And so you'll be seeing emails over the next few months regarding those with some insights onto how to optimize operations at the plant. So definitely keep an eye out for those. Today's discussion and webinar is going to be, as I mentioned, on the KinetiClean and really HRSG tube cleaning, why you want to do it, what's been done in the past, and what we're doing today from that standpoint, along with some case studies that we'll be able to discuss. The discussion will be an hour long. We'll have about 45 minutes of webinar and about 15 minutes of time for questions and answers. The panel today is made up of 3 people. We have Jason Sobotik, who is Groome Industrial's technical sales representative for the Gulf Coast and Southeast. We have Robin White, who is our technical sales representative for the Western region. And we have Ryan Esposito, who is the engineering manager for Groome Industrial. So that team has quite a bit of experience, and we'll be able to go over today the different aspects of HRSG tube cleaning. As I mentioned, we'll take 15 minutes at the end to do question and answers. You'll see on the screen that you have the capability of asking questions at any time during the webinar. So I would just ask, if anything comes up, please feel free to ask the question via chat at that time, and then we'll monitor it and determine whether we can answer it at that point in the webinar or if we'll wait to the very end. But we will address each question from that standpoint. And I'll even mention now that if there are any questions that you weren't able to ask or that come up with later on after the webinar, feel free to reach out to any of us, and we're always available to help existing and future clients. So to get into the actual webinar, one of the things we wanted to discuss first is really who is Groome Industrial, and why are we having the webinar to begin with. Many of you, as I said, do know us because we've worked with you in the past, but there's some new faces, new names that haven't seen before. And Groome Industrial's history spans over 50 years in the industrial cleaning services space. And that's something we've done that involves the HRSG side. For the last 30 years, involves the power plants, both from HRSG, catalyst, and cleaning services across the different power plant aspects. The last few years for us has been pretty interesting. There's been a lot of growth in the company and a lot of new technologies that have evolved with the acquisition of 2 other companies. And one of those is called Expro, and the other is Blasting Solutions, Inc. Those 2 companies have quite a bit of experience in the explosive cleaning space, and that's really where we perfected the KinetiClean technology that we're discussing today. And that's where it was developed and like I said, has been perfected from coming originally from the coal space. As you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen, you have a map that shows the different locations for Groome Industrial. And that is actually, the footprint has grown over the last few years. And now we have the capability to support your fleets, your sites on a nationwide basis, as well as even moving into the international space as well. And the one thing, to highlight here also is that, like I said, Groome has over 50 years, and each of the Expro and BSI companies have over 20 plus years in the space as well. So a lot of experience there that we're bringing to the table. As we roll into the discussion, and one of the topics that comes up and should be part of any discussion that we have is safety and training. And that's a big component for us. Obviously we'll have a discussion today about the effectiveness of new technologies that are out there, but all of those start with safety. So we don't want to do anything that's not safe to begin with, even though we can do it maybe faster or something along those lines, but safety is the #1 issue for us. Then you'll see the EMR rating there on the right-hand side on that chart. You'll see a 0.81 rating for us. 1 is the actual average So that's the standard. We're 0.81, which is world-class. And that's that experience modification rating. So that's where we pride ourselves in that. And it's not something we've just fallen into or we lucked into. It's based on the things that you see on the left. From our field personnel all the way up through our CEO, we are focused on safety, whether it's the training programs, the tailgate meetings, or discussions internally at our offices and sites. That's a main focus for us, and that's really what drives our everyday and is something we maintain an eye on, and that's something that'll be discussed here during the webinar as well. So to initiate the discussion, getting into the meat of the webinar, we'll start here with the benefits of HRSG cleaning. Why are we doing HRSG cleaning to begin with? And that's really the main crux of how we started this whole KinetiClean technology. We were looking at what was taking place previously and what we wanted to do in the future to benefit our clients. The real reason why anybody would get involved with the HRSG tube cleaning is the result of, as time goes on, as you all know, you're seeing increases in fouling on your tubes. Those tube fouling increases create additional back pressure on your gas turbine or your combustion turbine, which can decrease your power output, as well as increase your heat rate. And so you'll see here on the chart on the right-hand side, what this is showing us, for every inch of water column that you decrease your back pressure, you will lose about 0.1% power output. And you will also at the same time increase your heat rate by about 0.1%. And what that's going to do is increase your gas consumption and decrease the amount of megawatts that you can produce. So by doing HRSG tube cleaning, you can minimize that or avoid that, reduce that back pressure, and thereby get an improvement on your overall power output as well as your heat rate. You'll also see on the chart, the blue line there is showing your exhaust temperature. As you reduce your back pressure, so you go along the x-axis, you go -1 inches of water column, reduce it by 1 inch, you're improving your exhaust temperature. What that's showing us is that you're getting better heat transfer through your HRSG tubes. Obviously, you're cleaning off a coating, you're getting better heat transfer. That also has some implications. Nobody has a good rule of thumb on that as to what an inch of water column, for example, will do to your heat transfer, but we do know that it improves it dramatically based on our historical experience with clients. So the real benefit, why we do it: decrease back pressure, get those benefits on heat rate and power output, and then also that heat transfer. What we'll see here at the bottom of the chart, there are some cost savings that are realized. And these are examples that we'll get into a little bit later with our KinetiClean calculator that we have on our website. This is a typical application where you would have a 201 megawatt gas turbine operating at base load for 8,000 hours per year. And what they would see is that over time, they have gone from, say, it's a 16-inch water column back pressure has gone up to 20 inches of water column back pressure. So an increase of 4 inches over their operating duration. And with the cleaning technology, we can recover 75% of that increased back pressure. So in a 4-inch application, we'd be able to regain 3 inches of back pressure for them. And that will have the implications that you see there of $192,000 of fuel consumption and $150,000 of additional energy profits. And those calculations are based on assumptions down at the bottom there for gas costs, as well as the sale of power. The one thing that these numbers don't take into account is that additional benefit for heat transfer. So the additional steam turbine output that you could see, this only relates back to the gas turbine. So there's a significant amount of additional savings that can be realized on the steam turbine, but it's a much harder thing to calculate. So that's an added bonus on top of this. And so you'll see over time that an ROI on something like this is very significant from that end. In terms of what we're doing today, in terms of, so that's why you do it. what are we actually doing today, or what has been done traditionally in the market. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the CO2 dry ice blasting. That's what's historically for the last 20 years has been done in the market. And we've done it. We continue to do it on a much reduced basis today because of an improved technology. But there were advantages to it, and that's why everybody was doing it. It actually, with the dry ice, you were able to clean the actual tubes, leaving no residue on the tubes, which is a very nice aspect of it, and get actually fairly good cleaning from that standpoint, because the way the dry ice works, it had enough mass, and it was hard enough that when it impacted on the tubes, it was able to provide enough force to remove the majority of foulings that were out there. And the fact that it sublimates, so turns from solid to gas immediately without ever going to the liquid phase, avoided leaving any residues behind. The downside of that is, what was an advantage also is a disadvantage, is that over time, there's a lifespan on that dry ice, that if we don't use it immediately, or if some temperatures change or something along those lines, the size of the actual pellets and the hardness of the pellets can change. That dramatically impacts the effectiveness of the cleaning. In addition, the dry ice can only clean what it can see. So as you can imagine, if you're trying to clean something off with abrasion, you have to be able to touch it. If you can't see the tube, you can't clean the tube. And so the dry ice was limited to a few rows of tubes being able to clean at any time. So you could get 2 to 3 rows deep with tube spreading. Otherwise, you were getting a row and a little bit more from a cleaning standpoint. So that was always the concern from that standpoint. In addition to, in order to clean with dry ice, you had to get in front of the tubes. So you had to build scaffolding all the way up throughout your whole HRSG system. So from a time standpoint, that also had an impact from that end as well. And then even today, it was something we've seen, which everybody talks about now, is the impacts on availability of everything today in the market. And that includes dry ice. Getting dry ice is much harder than it used to be. So again, having to bring it from further places impacts the quality of that ice, impacts the quality of your cleaning. So these are the reasons, those disadvantages are why we at Groome, over the last several years, determined that there had to be a better way of doing it, and partnered up with Expro and acquired Expro in order to bring that to the market today. And really where we ended up with that is the KinetiClean technology. And I'll show you a quick video here, and then Jason Sobotik, our technical sales rep for the Gulf Coast and Southeast, will take you through the KinetiClean technology from there. And I'll just get this video started here first, and then Jason will take it from there.
KinetiClean utilizes kinetic energy to dislodge the fouling deposits on your fin tubes. A detonating cord curtain is engineered for your specific application based on the size of the area to be cleaned and the amount of fouling of the individual HRSGs. The detonation itself is engineered to be the most effective in delivering kinetic energy while ensuring the structural integrity of the tubes is not compromised. There is no tube spreading required, and no tools come into direct contact with the tubes. After detonation of the deck cord curtain, there will remain some fouling material that has been loosened, but still remains on the tube fins. KinetiClean utilizes a patented oscillating air tool to deliver high-volume, high-pressure air through a programmable operated system to remove any loose fouling that may remain. This high-volume, high-pressure air removes remaining fouling material previously loosened by the kinetic energy system. After extensive testing in our R&D center and several industry case studies, we have concluded that the kinetic energy produced by the detonation of explosives with the application of our patented technology produces a safe and effective cleaning method.
All right, thanks, Jorge. So as you can see from the video, our KinetiClean process involves 3 different steps. Starting with step 1 is the actual developing the kinetic shockwave through the deck cord curtain. Each curtain is specifically engineered for each application inside due to our customers' needs. There's certain levers we can pull on this, including the different spacing of the deck cord strands, as well as the level of deck cord that we can use. The deck cord curtain is constructed outside of the unit and then brought in through on the ground level. cables are actually lowered in through the roof penetrations or sky climber ports at the top of your unit and the gas lanes. It is then connected to the deck cord curtain hanging system. We then raise it up to the ceiling, so then it actually generates sidewall to sidewall, roof to ceiling, 100% uniform coverage. The second step would be the automated high pressure, high volume air tool. This was a patented tool developed in-house. It uses the same cabling system as the deck cord curtain as well. Also, there's no scaffolding involved with this process, this step as well. This system actually sits on a 1x1 box beam and is on a track system. So then we start at the top, we let it migrate back and forth on the track system and blows high volume, high pressure air through your two bundles to loosen up, to remove any of the loosened fouling down to the ground. Good thing about this system, it also is multi-directional. It works on an equal and opposite force principle. So we have equal and opposing nozzles, and that is the technique we use to reduce the amount of sway or movement inside your unit with this equipment. The third step would be the in-house debris removal service. We will then bring in vac trucks, and we will clean all areas of the HRSG that experienced fouling down to the ground. That includes all lower headers, all floors, all basements, everything to make sure it's clean, as you can see on the picture on the right. With these three steps, we offer this service as a full turnkey service. Some of our other technologies that are out there stop short of full turnkey. So that's one thing we like to pride ourselves is we're there to clean your unit, and we're going to do everything possible from start to finish to make sure we have a good product at the end. Here's another video of an actual deck cord curtain being detonated from inside the unit, just to give you an idea of the effects and what you would see if you were inside the unit. Jorge, do we have volume on this? Or?
Yeah, you can't hear it?
I don't think so.
No,
I can't hear it. So as you can see there, the deck cord curtain was propagated with a series of delayed blasting caps. So each individual strand will actually be detonated individually, and so we can control the amount of force released inside your unit. And then the next clip here is going to be a video from outside the unit, which you would see the reaction to the unit to the deck cord curtain. Apologize for the volume not working here. I think one of the goals was to give a sense of how loud it is during the detonation. We've done measurements from about 50 feet away from the unit, and our measurements registered anywhere from 95 decibels to 120 decibels. So I know we're talking about explosives here, so there's a concern with noise, but with those levels, pretty much anywhere you go in the country and in these facilities, that's within your noise permits there, especially from the fence. So we have a good idea of what the process actually is for the KinetiClean, but wanted a good deep dive into a little bit about the materials we use for this process. So deck cord is an explosive, linear explosive rope with a core of PETN. It's a chemical name that is a little bit of a tongue twister, so I'm not going to be able to say that right now and just embarrass myself. But the thing about this explosive, it is not dynamite. Deck cord is an inert explosive. So it is not considered a live explosive until a blasting cap is actually introduced. Or in the case of dynamite, that would be a live explosive. Using this system, we're able to detonate the det cord curtain from outside the unit, and this minimizes the exposure of personnel from airborne particulate, especially when comparing the internal situation of using ice blasting, where you actually have men inside there with respirators and a bunch of debris flying around, where this process will mitigate the risk of exposing our employees and other contractors to this airborne particulates. In our process, no explosives ever come in direct contact with any plant equipment. We did some EPRI studies that I know Ryan is going to get into a little bit later. And the rating that they gave us that would be a safe detonation for this det cord is 4 times the diameter of the explosive. The diameter of det cord is about 1/4 of an inch. So we're safe to detonate this explosive from 1 to 2 inches away from your equipment. We went further beyond our procedures layout that we're not able to detonate any explosives within 12 inches of any equipment without. And if we want to get any closer, we have to have management approval. So just an extra level of safety when dealing with this explosive. Other contractors can be actually performing work inside the unit while almost every single part of this process. When we're creating the curtain, raising the curtain, as well as even in the later steps of the air tool and the after cleaning. When we'll actually call everyone off the unit is when we'll actually introduce blasting caps. Like I said before, once we introduce blasting caps, it becomes a live explosive. So before we do any of that, we'll call everyone off and make sure everyone's outside the unit at a safe distance. We'll then propagate the det cord curtain, introduce the blasting caps with the series delayed caps there. And then all explosives will be initiated by and constructed by trained and licensed professionals. All of our training is IME, what's certified, which is the Institute of Makers of Explosives. And we're actually one of the only in-house training programs that is approved by IME. Other contractors doing explosive cleaning typically have to go to a training facility for this matter. And we're very proud to say that we're one of the only in-house training programs that is approved. The advantages to the KinetiClean is that this shockwave is able to migrate through your tube bundles and clean tubes deeper in the bundle. Whereas in ice blasting, like Jorge said, you would have to actually see or be able to physically touch the foulant with the ice blasting. Here we can use that shockwave to loosen up and dislodge the fouling and have a deeper penetration into the bundles. This is a faster cleaning due to the minimal support we will need from the plant, including scaffolding, things of that matter, as well as we're actually able to detonate multiple different curtains on one shot at the same time. Having multiple curtains strung up and connected with a series of daisy chain delayed blasting caps, this will allow less downtime for other contractors in the area, as well as promoting more efficient blasting operations.
Before we go further, or Jay, I'm not sure if you were done. I'm sorry with that.
Yeah, I just had a few different things I just wanted to hit on. Is like I stated before, our process is very versatile. The clearances we need for our det cord curtain is typically about 6 inches of width. So we're able to get our det cord curtain inside of these tighter tube bundles, especially when you have a tube bundle section made up of a few different smaller sections. As long as we have access to it, we should be able to get our det cord curtain inside of there. That's another point that kind of stands us out from the other technologies out there, because I know some of them have clearance issues and stuff like that, where we're talking about about 6 inches of clearance is all we need. Once again, a huge advantage to KinetiClean is 100% full coverage, whereas other technologies kind of take on more of a spot cleaning, where they'll pick different areas that they deem necessary for cleaning and kind of clean that localized area. Another advantage I think we've kind of hit on is that there's obviously no manual tube movements, but in the form of tube spreading, and minimal to no scaffolding required. The only scaffolding we've really ever needed was maybe if your bottom doors there were when we needed a platform to get inside there to inside the unit. But other than that, we typically don't need any scaffolding inside the unit.
So you'll see on your screen here, there is a poll that you'll see regarding back pressure for HRSGs, as we've just gone through, and as Jason was just mentioning, how the KinetiClean technology has evolved, what it entails, and then really how it's different than some of the other technologies that are out there. One of the things that I guess I should have highlighted during the dry ice aspect of it, a critical component that is different here, which is part of, again, why we are where we are today, is that the dry ice was limited probably to about 30 to 50% recovery of any back pressure you had seen accumulate over the years when that was implemented. With KinetiClean, we see 70 to 80% recovery of that accumulated back pressure. So you can see it works almost twice as well as the previous technology, and then it also works better compared to other newer technologies that are out there today. So it looks like we have so there's a significant amount of folks. What we asked in the poll was, if you were seeing greater than 3 inches of water column higher back pressure than you had at startup. It looks like it's split almost 50-50. That's something just to mention as we go through it, that is really the driver for us, really, as we said before, why you want to do it, and where you can reap the benefits using a KinetiClean technology is to get a greater recovery of that increased back pressure. And probably when you're looking at about 3 inches of water column, you would see a extremely good ROI, depending as to where it came from, what bundles may have come from. You'll see an extremely good ROI with the KinetiClean technology, or HRSG tube cleaning, just in generally speaking. We'll leave that poll up here for a minute or two more, and then Jason is going to go into some case studies that we have of the KinetiClean technology.
Yeah, Ben, Jorge, one thing I would like to add and just let everyone know, I know some facilities have great measuring equipment for DP at multiple different sections inside their HRSG. Some are mainly just at the exhaust of the turbine there. So we do offer manual DP readings. We'll do a whole analysis of all the different tube bundles inside your unit, and that will help us locate which areas are increased the most amount of fouling and increased back pressure there, and we can use, I guess, your money that you're giving us to clean your unit as effectively as possible. Last thing we want to do is go in there and try to clean something that's already clean. So just want to throw that out there. It is something free that we're offering right now if anyone's interested.
Good point. So the first case study, we'll let Jason go through that.
Yeah, so this first case study was in a cogen facility in Texas. The unit that we were tasked to clean has never been cleaned in the 20 years of operation. It was actually derated and to about 75% base load. They were having an outage on the other unit, on unit 2. Oops, sorry, there's a poll came up real quick. So there was an outage coming up on unit 2, and this was unit 1. The concern from the plant was that they were not going to be able to meet their steam host requirements due to the derating of the unit. So we were then tasked to go in and clean the fin tubes here. Before, obviously, as you can see on the pictures on the left, the plant was experiencing high DP and high stack temperature. And after cleaning, as you can see on the right, we did really well. Most of the foulant was generalized rust, as well as calcification due to tube leaks. And after we took 8 12-hour shifts, about 4 days total, and that would be the full turnkey process. We were able to recover 12% of their load back, which equal to about 6 megawatts. And got them out of their D rating. Their stack temperature reduced by 12 degrees Fahrenheit, and we removed about 10 tons of material outside of this unit. The best news out of this was the plant was actually able to run near their base load conditions and fulfill their contractual steam requirements while the other unit was in outage. And of course, there was no damage to either the HRSG or the fin tubes resulting of this service. Jorge, do you have anything else you want to add?
Nope. I think that that was an interesting point that you mentioned on the calcification. That we were able to remove those kind of foulants as well as the rust as well as the salts. So it's been proven on a variety of different, the typical power plant foulants that you would see.
That's correct. Yes, and pretty much, especially with ours and pretty much any other kinetic type cleaning, if the fouling is hard and brittle, this type of cleaning will be very, very beneficial for you. When you start getting into the gummier type foulants, especially when running with oil, stuff like that, that's when the effectiveness goes down a little bit. Not saying it's not effective, but that's when something that we need to know to take into account.
Mm-hmm.
Or Jorge, can you actually go back to the last case study? I forgot to mention something here. So yeah, on this case study, as you can see, I know DP was one of the concerns and driving factors to this project here. We actually were not able to get good DP measurements before and after due to their DP measurement equipment had some issues, but we were discussing with the plant manager, and from his calculations, it looked like it lowered the DP about 3 to 4 inches. Without any hard measurements, I'm hesitate to advertise anything in writing with that, but due to the results we got back from the megawatt recovery on the gas turbine, the stack temperature reduction, and the amount of material we removed, we can assume that there was a significant reduction in back pressure.
Good.
The next unit that we did was up in the Northeast. It was the Siemens unit. This plant was traditionally using dry ice blasting with tube spreading, and saw about a 2-inch decrease in DP. We saw our technology and they were interested, and we said we think we can do better, and they gave us a shot at it. And ended up, so the before conditions, before we completed KinetiClean, the back pressure was elevated about 18.6 water column. I believe the commissioned level of back pressure in their HRSG was, I think it was 14 inches here. And they were also experiencing elevated stack temperature. We went in and cleaned the 2 bundles in about 6 12-hour shifts, about 3 total days around the clock. We would decrease their back pressure. Can you go back to that? Looks like it jumped. So yes, we decreased their back pressure by 3.6 inches and got them down to 15 inches after cleaning. This is about 1 inch away from your commission level, which I would be very hesitant for anyone to promise you getting back to commissioned level of back pressure, but within 1 inches, we're very confident that is one of the leading technologies out there in effectiveness. We removed about 3.6 tons of material here, and the plant actually helped us, provided us the necessary information to generate an annual specialized annual fuel savings amount, which resulted in about 315,000, and the estimated energy savings in megawatt production that was not originally available was about 185,000. As you can see here, there are pictures pretty promising here, as well as there was no damage within with either the HRSG or fin tubes result of the cleaning.
So here we have the KinetiClean calculator, which we had addressed, which we had mentioned before. This is actually on our website at www.groomeindustrial.com, as you can see below. And this is a calculator that was put together by Ryan Esposito and his team, using the experience that we've had with the KinetiClean, as well as looking at what we could incorporate to provide a tool for our clients to understand, again, really what that cost savings that they can realize from both the fuel savings as well as the energy savings. The one thing, again, we'll mention here that we kind of mentioned at the beginning of the webinar is that when we do these analyses, when this calculator, this estimated savings, does not take into account the benefits from the steam turbine. So in an application where we're, whether it's a cogen or whether it's a combined cycle, in both those cases, there will be some benefit from either additional steam output or the power output resulting from it. What we'll do on this is, if you go to our website, you'll see that you can enter this information. All we require, I believe there is a little bit of information required to access it, but by inputting the gas turbine size, your base load that you would run at, your hours of operation on a yearly basis, and then really what those parameters are for cost of megawatts, as well as the cost of natural gas, and an estimate on what you're seeing from a back pressure standpoint from your system. So even if it's an estimate, it will give you a feel for how much savings you particularly can save as a result of implementing the KinetiClean. And there are some assumptions that you don't see listed here that Ryan Esposito, our engineering manager, can kind of give you some insight on here on the background of that.
Yeah, thanks, Jorge. So the calculator was designed to give a tool to someone who's interested in the KinetiClean process, but doesn't really know on like an order of magnitude level how much it's going to benefit their plant. So this calculator is designed to kind of put it on the roadmap of like what's potentially what can we save here if we do perform KinetiClean. So the calculator assumes that you're going to run for base load for the number of hours that are inputted, and the average megawatt output price is going to be whatever is put in there, and the cost of natural gas is going to be also what's inputted. We assume, as Jorge mentioned earlier, the 75% recovery of DP. So if you have the exact DP over the two bundles that you're looking to clean, that's best case scenario, but a lot of times that level of detail and measurement and recording isn't available. And that goes back to what Jason was saying earlier. If you want us to come and measure it ourselves for you, then we can input those and be a little bit even more accurate with those numbers. But if you just put in kind of what you're operating at currently and what the DP was at commissioning, then this will give you kind of an idea of where you're going to land. I have had a lot of customers send performance data for their exact turbine and any like upgrades that they've had over the years, so that it can give you a much more accurate kind of idea of the ROI that could be achieved from a cleaning. So you combine that with the on-site measurements, and that's kind of the most accurate tool that we can use. So this will kind of basically start us down that road to figuring out, how much the KinetiClean can help.
Okay, no, that's perfect. And this also does is it the 0.1% approximation?
Yes. So everything is based off of the curves that you saw in that plot previously. So it's not exactly linear technically, but in the ranges that we're looking at, it is fairly linear. So without going into too much crazy detail, that's kind of how the calculation works.
Gotcha. Perfect. So and as you mentioned, if they did have performance curves specific for their turbine, that's something we could look into for them as well to provide that ROI analysis for them also.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So this is available at all times on our website, and if you have any issues with it, please feel free to reach out. We can help, whether it's Ryan, Jason, myself, or anybody else from our team. The why Groome? kind of reiterating, the why do we clean? What have we used in the past? What do we do today? What have we developed? This is kind of almost, this is a summary in essence of really the things that we've discussed, the experience that we have, the safety aspect that's critical for our company, as well as the innovation that we've provided. And I would say today, even though we have many plants under our belt with the HRSG tube cleaning in general, we're constantly looking at innovating and looking how we can do things a little bit better, safely, but a little bit better. So that's always something that we look for. And what we're really trying to do is bring to the clients benefits and value and solutions that they can then optimize their plant with. Our team, we have an experienced full-time crew. These are not folks that we are bringing on or subcontracting out. These are full-time Groome employees that are coming to your site to do the work. And that's something that's pretty unique in the industry. We're certified by several OEMs, both on the catalyst side as well as on the OEM gas turbine side. And we work with a variety of different companies. So we've worked with the majority of the big OEM HRSG companies. We worked with them, the Votes, the Neuters, the NEMs, the Bradens, all those folks we've worked with. And then on top of that, the locations that we have throughout the country, that map that we showed, we have experienced teams that are available throughout the country. And then our ops team they're fantastic, next to none, that can compete against them. And so they do a great job. And I'm sure some of you already know that. So that's really the reason why to work with us. And it's not just us saying that. So Siemens Energy has approved us as a HRSG tube cleaning technology and supplier. So we work directly with them. We work with Mitsubishi as well directly. So they're contracting to us to help them do work and provide services to their clients. And then you'll see their company, the institute that you all know, EPRI, has independently evaluated us. And I'll let Ryan, who was involved with the testing that was done along with EPRI, describe really what we did with them, what those results were as well.
Yeah, so I think a big question, I think one of the first questions that everybody has is, is this safe for my unit? Is there any damage that can potentially happen? And it's obviously a fair question. So 30 years of experience is a lot of blasting experience, and that goes a long way. But having gone through the testing protocol with EPRI, I guess it just gives an even more firm stamp of approval. So what we did was we created a mock HRSG. We ran simulated cleanings with different grain deck cord, different distances from the fin tubes, different configurations. And we created a series of blasts that would simulate a true cleaning. And we did that for a number of different cases. And after the testing was completed, those tubes went under scrutinized testing. So they were cut open, MP testing, eddy current testing, chemical analysis for any metallurgy that could have been affected. And obviously there was no impact to the tube. We were looking for any kind of defects, cracking, thinning, anything, and kind of passed with flying colors, which was great. So the full EPRI study is available through EPRI for anyone who's a member.
Perfect, thanks. Yeah, and in fact, if anybody wanted to reach out, we can provide that the contacts that can get them the study,
as well as the EPRI study number as well. So
right, yes, yeah. So yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, so I was gonna transition to questions. We got about 8 of them here. So you want me to
oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's perfect.
So it sounds like Chelsea, she asked about did we use plein air? Do we bring our own air compressor truck? We bring our own air compressors. We typically bring 2 of them for redundancy. So all the equipment will be supplied and brought on site by Groome. The next question here is about temporary shipping braces that were left during construction, or acoustic baffles that occupy lane space between sections. Does it have to be removed for the deck cord, curtain, and air tool to have access? So for obstructions like this, including shipping braces, acoustic baffles, tube stays, tube line brackets, stuff like that. We treat it as a case by case basis. There has not been many or at all units that we haven't been able to form a configuration to do some blasting inside their gas lanes. We have the availability to could have our tube hanging system modified to fit different sections, as well as we have different techniques to lower deck cord, the deck cord curtain through your unit through along these obstructions. As for the air cleaning tool, for the deck cord curtain, I mentioned that we need only about 6 inches of clearance width-wise to fit in between any obstruction there. For the air tool, it is a little bit trickier. This takes about 1.5 foot of clearance. But the great thing about this is if especially with sections in like the Neuter Erickson triple bundle where there's internal sections, maybe we can do blasting inside there, but the air typically we do it on the upstream and downstream side of the bundle section, and with our PSI and our high volume, high pressure air system, it will penetrate through the bundle, even if it's not in every single section. So, Ryan or Jorge, do you have any to add to the shipping braces or acoustic baffles?
I don't. I think you hit the nail on the head with the that we really look at that as a case by case basis, and I think that becomes one of the advantages really of the KinetiClean, and the fact that we have different types of loadings on the deck cords. We can do different loadings on the deck cords. We can change the configuration in terms of the spacing. It allows us a lot of flexibility, so we're able to work with a lot of different configurations. So I think that's part of the advantage as well. But you're right, it's a case by case, and our engineering team, Ryan's team, takes a look at that, and we can kind of figure it out with our ops group as well.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to add too is the culture at Groome. We are problem solvers. I know maybe a lot of people say that, and then once they get hit with a bump in the road, then they don't know where to go from there. But there has been many instances where the plant didn't even know they had these acoustic baffles or shipping braces inside their unit, and we were actually able to, on the fly, get to the drawing board, come up with a great blasting plan, and actually even produce a great resulting product at the end there, even with not having all the information walking into the job. So just kind of shows that we think on our feet, and we have some good people in our corner here to help us work through any of these issues on a case by case basis. The next question is, do we haul off debris too, or do the plant have to take care of that? So we do offer disposal services. A lot of the times these are the facilities we work in, they do have relationships with debris removal services, or with the local landfill. So either way, we can definitely help with the T-clip testing as well. We can do that. And typically what we do for debris is once we start the blasting, we have enough material on the ground, we'll actually take a sample and give that to your environmental people if they're handling the T-clip process, just to get that ball rolling, as quickly as we can. Typically, T-clips can, sometimes they take a week, sometimes they take a month to come back. So that's just one thing that we take into account, and we try to get that sample to y'all as quick as possible, get that study, so just to make sure the amount of downtime that the materials on your facility is shortened to as much as possible. So I guess the long and short, we definitely can handle it, or if you want to handle it yourself, that's totally fine with us as well. The next question, Jorge, do you want to handle that one?
The KinetiClean in oil refineries.
Yep.
So the question is, has KinetiClean been applied in oil refineries? And so the KinetiClean really is our patented technology specific to the gas-fired space, or to the HRSG technology. So on the oil refiners, we can clean with a similar type of explosive cleaning, but it's going to be a little bit different configuration. We wouldn't call it KinetiClean, but it can be using 2-part explosives, or also det cord as well. So we can definitely work within that arena. And we do for refineries, if it's on a cogen type of application outside of the refinery gate, we would use KinetiClean. But again, if it's in the oil space, refinery space, it's typically going to be explosive blasting is what we would refer to it as. But certainly we can look at that and provide assistance in that area as well.
Right. Yeah. And just to follow up with that as well, when you're talking about, furnaces or direct fire boilers or auxiliary boilers inside the refinery space, like Jorge said, typically probably not going to be the KinetiClean solution. Maybe some of the direct fired boilers, we could use an altered type version of the KinetiClean where we can generate somewhat of a curtain here. But typically, in these furnace applications, stuff like that, like Jorge saying, we would do more of a pole type explosive cleaning and more localized instead of the full KinetiClean process. So the next question is are there space limitations or clearance requirements for the det cord curtain or the air blasting device? So yes, there is somewhat limitations. It's not as expansive, or the need is not as much as some of the other technologies out there. So our det cord curtain, like I said previously, takes up about 6 inches of real estate width wise. When we can modify that, how wide we want that curtain as well. And how many strands we want to fit in between your baffles or your buck stays and stuff like that. As for the air blasting device, that is about 1.5 feet of clearance is needed for that. And Harold asked how long since it's been cleaned. I believe this is talking about the second case study that up in the Northeast. And for that one, Jorge, I believe it was 4 years since the last time they cleaned, they did ice blasting.
Yep, I believe so.
So it was about 4 years. That plant was doing routine cleaning with ice blasting, just general maintenance, making sure they didn't have too much fouling on there. And then they got an eyes up on our service, and then we ended up showing them that there is better solutions out there. And now we're actually, I believe for that facility, we've done additional cleaning. We have one more scheduled as well.
And I'd add on that, Jason, it's not really answering it's taking the opportunity to mention one thing here is that with our clients, we see anywhere from every year that they clean in the Northwest, where you have some sulfur issues with the fuel, up to that 4-year period, depending as the kind of fouling they see. So it runs the gamut really for our clients in general.
Yeah, so Jeff, he had a good question. How many people crew is on site? So typically we have about 7 men per shift. So we'll have about 14 total on a project. We work around the clock 24 hours. So we'll have 7 men on nights, 7 men on days as well.
And Jace, just to touch on that, I know sometimes we got to be flexible with, either noise ordinances or just plant preferences with whatever's going on around them. So we are flexible with if they want to run just day crews or just do blasting on days or just do blasting on nights, or, whatever works best for them.
Yeah, that's correct. I appreciate you adding that. So what is a cost comparison between dry ice and KinetiClean? Jorge, do you want to handle that since you're more involved in the pricing here?
Yeah, so it's going to be dependent on the actual application. Obviously, how many tube bundles are we looking at, the size of the unit, accessibility, those type of things. But I'd say it can run the gamut. It's certainly not. It's typically not going to be. I wouldn't say it's double necessarily, but there is a relatively a fair amount of a cost impact associated with it. However, the way I would answer it, and we're happy to provide proposals to anybody with we don't even need that much information. If we have the drawings, we can provide proposals with both options. We still offer dry ice. But when you look at the cost, you really have to take into account the time as well, and the effectiveness. Like I said, the effectiveness is already there. The one thing maybe we didn't, I think was mentioned, but to put it in terms of, to put it quantitatively, let's say that for a dry ice compared to a KinetiClean, we'll save 2-3 days, be able to clean it that much quicker with a KinetiClean versus a dry ice. So there's some cost benefits there for the plant as well. But I'd say the best way to do it, instead of sending out mentioning actual numbers, because it gets difficult to do that, would be for us to put together a proposal. That's probably the best approach. And we could do that fairly easily and fairly quickly with our team. So that's what I would say best approach on that.
The next question is from Chris Funk. He was asking if Vote HRS, or he was saying if Vote HRSGs present a special challenge in the cold end. Do you have any case studies done on Gen 2 votes? Ryan can probably speak on this, but I know we've done some blasting, some KinetiClean projects on votes in the past that we can definitely look up and try to get you some information there. So Chris, I'll reach out to you on that one. The next question is, Bert, can 2 HRSGs be cleaned inside of a 2-week outage? So we have different, I guess, work schedules that we can operate with, and we're flexible on that. I would say on average, typically, one HRSG takes about 4 days around the clock to clean, and that is dependent on how many tube bundles and the level of fouling that is present. So I would be confident that that's saying that we could get 2 HRSGs done within at least 10 days. If it needs to be quicker, we can definitely get another extra blasting crew on site, and even do both units, simultaneously if need be. But even just working 1 day crew, 1 night crew around the clock, I believe that we can get 2 HRSGs done in 10 days. The next question, how are 2 bundles cleaned that don't have access ports in the roof? If only one bundle face is able to have the deck cord cleaned, how many tubes deep will the cleaning be effective? So we've ran into this issue with not really having good SkyCom ports or roof ports access. If your plant does not have currently ports or SkyCom ports, we can install those in-house. And we have a pretty interesting technique that I can get more into if you're interested in that. But in the case, there is a couple facilities that I've ran into where there's headers blocking the roof the top access in some of these cleaning lanes. And we actually recently completed a project up at the Northeast that had some obstructions up at the top, where we actually drilled some side ports at the top of the unit on each side, on the sidewalls there, and we're able to lower cables through that way and raise our deck cord curtain up through the sides. So we have a couple different options that we used in the past, as well as, like I said, every problem or every HRSG seems to be a little bit different with around the country here. So we definitely look at each project as on a case-by-case basis and try to find the best cost-effective solution for each one. What happens if you don't have roof access points? I think I pretty much cleared that up with that last question there. So if there's anything else that I need to go into more specific, Chelsea, just please type it in the chat. Jim has a great question here, actually. What precautions are taken to keep the debris, dust, etc., out of the SCR and CO? So we have found through testing and experience that if there's at least 1 tube bundle between where we're blasting, that is significant or adequate protection for the SCR or CO catalyst systems. But in cases we've actually blasted in the same gas lane from the downstream side of the SCR catalyst, and what we do there is we actually we raise up a heavy rubberized flame retardant tarp to block the SCR, and that will block it from any debris, as well as deflect the shock wave onto the SCR catalyst. We've done I don't know how many at this point, but a large amount of projects actually blasting right on the SCR catalyst there with this tarp setup, and we've had no issues or no damage to the SCR at all. So we actually even done some in-house testing of deck cord on SCR catalyst bricks, and it seems like it takes it pretty well. And we're actually doing some R&D on cleaning coal catalyst with explosives. So just to show that there is a concern with the SCR and CO catalyst using explosives, but we take precautions with raising that heavy rubberized tarp to block anything from getting near it. Next question: is there a preference of having HRSG filled or not filled with water in sections like evaporators, economizers, preheaters, etc.? Ryan, since it's more of an engineering question, you want to take this one?
I don't think we basically worked with each plane individually to figure out whatever they're more comfortable with. As far as we're concerned, it's not going to affect our cleaning in any way. Just some customers have a preference one way or the other, so we'll work with whoever needs it to kind of come to a decision that they're comfortable with.
I appreciate that. And Chelsea has one more question here asking about how long does it typically take a unit? So the best example I have is, on a frame size, 7F frame unit, about 30 feet wide, about 55, 60 feet tall. If we do 3 2 bundles, I would say that typically takes about 4 days around the clock. Anything more or any different type of size type unit, will change. I think the best way to get a good idea of exactly how long it'll take your unit is just reach out to one of us, and we'll get a quote put together. It's a decision between us and Ryan, and that will have a project duration on that quote as well.
I think that was the last question. See, the other ones I believe were. There is one more, I think, from Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea. So she asked, how deep does it reach into the tube bundle? At the beginning stages of this project, of this service, we wanted to find that exact question out. And what we've seen is the KinetiClean can penetrate, the shockwave can penetrate up to about 12 tubes deep. We verified this with manual DP measurements as well as boroscoping. So when you say 12 tubes deep, yes, you might have a 22 deep bundle, but that's 12 tubes from either side, so the upstream and downstream side. So that it would be able to this technology is able to clean the deeper bundles as well.
Thanks, Jason. I think that is that was the last question that we have on there. We're a little bit over time, but I think we addressed it and came pretty close. So that's fantastic. Definitely appreciate everybody who is on the webinar and our team of panelists and the guys. And what we would say, as Jason mentioned, I think the key here, takeaway for you guys, if there are any questions or if we can provide you any information, whether it's a proposal or insight into what you're doing there, use us as a resource. We can do DP studies, we can inspect your systems, we can do all of that. We can be an extension to your teams that you have there at site to optimize the plant as it pertains to the HRSG tube cleaning, as well as in some other areas as well. So please let us know how we can help. Thanks again for joining the webinar. And everybody have a great day. What we'll do is we'll send out a link with the video once we've gotten it uploaded, and we'll be able to send that information over to everybody. Thanks again and have a great day.